From Wall Street to Main Street, this is LALATE.
It's a big evening of evenings LALATE with incredible great news about your fourth stimulus check update of 2022 from the shores of Santa Monica, California tonight. With breaking news that student loan debt has now been forgiven for a new series of people that didn't see it coming. Supply chain out of control, but great news as three major stimulus checks have now landed. A $6,500 check now landed, a $15,000 to $80,000 stimulus check has landed, and an MSC check of $24,000 have landed. All the latest details tonight on a big broadcast for April 15th, 2022. As we go into a big weekend, the SS300 is heating up, but is the recessionary pressures causing confusion for that inflation? We'll go over the latest details of what J. Powell has to do this new week. Then we'll be going over that big money Build Back Better Act, a likely vote coming in the next few days, then six stimulus, the largest stimulus package of a generation teed up between the White House, Germany, and France. But is the supply chain disruption in China because that some variant of Omicron causing major lockdowns in China tonight, causing confusion? All the latest details on that front as well. The wheat, grain, corn, and oil prices surging out of control. As you go into a big Easter weekend, what should you anticipate for your price of gasoline at the pump and also your big monies in your hand? We'll go over the big money at issue. Everything from oil, wheat, grain, student loan debt forgiveness as a new round of student loan debt has been forgiven. Stimulus checks that have landed and you can get tonight as well. If you haven't gotten them, I'm going to go over all those incredible checks. We'll go over why it's important to become a member right today because those checks are available. As we drive into a beautiful weekend with gasoline prices surging out of control, what do you need to know about the big money available? From the shores of Santa Monica to the shores of the Black Sea, a lot of money happening. And the great news is that three major checks have now landed. Law, four stimulus checks, and student loan debt forgiveness that Liz Warren had advocated for, now forgiven. All the latest details in tonight's recordings. From the shores of Santa Monica, California to the shores of the Black Sea, it's a big night with a lot of breaking news as we celebrate Easter, and we also celebrate the big money at issue. It's Evenings LA, starting right now. Good evening, everybody. As everyone heads their way to make Easter celebration this weekend, what should you know about your stimulus? What should you know about this economy? And what should you know about the price of gasoline at the pump? Well, the latest details from the shores of Santa Monica, California tonight, with the great news as three major checks have landed. A $6,500 check, a $15,000 to $80,000 check, and an MSC check of $24,000. We'll go over all those incredible checks later in this recording. Stay with me, because over the next 1 hour, broadcast, we have major checks that have now landed, and you want to get them because the supply chain disruption is getting worse tonight. Supply chain disruption, which is literally causing the United States, was added and compounded by Vladimir Putin, day one of the invasion of Ukraine. And tonight, new details of why that supply chain may get worse because of the subvariant of Omicron in now China. What is the Federal Reserve doing about that, and how does it impact your SS300? We'll look at that situation unfolding by the minute, by the day, and why it's important to get every check that's available right to you right tonight. We're going to go over all those incredible checks so you look pretty going into the weekend. Let's go over the big news right now, starting with the Build Back Better Act, those three clusters of checks, those three add-ons of checks, and then we'll go over to the breaking news that helps Build Back Better Act tonight. The Build Back Better Act is the fourth stimulus recon. It's currently in the Senate with three clusters of checks and three add-ons that pay a lot of money. How much money does it pay? It pays you $15,000 to $80,000 of checks across three clusters and three add-ons. In that first cluster, we have huge sums of money. We have hazard pay, the earned income tax credit, a third stimulus done one more year for my essential workers. If you're an essential worker, you're going to be happy to hear this big news tonight. Then they got in there the CTC. If you have a young child, 17 years or younger, get ready for another year of $3,600 of checks. Then they got six $550 checks in there for college students, the Pell Grant. Home repairs if you live in a low-income community. If you have an elder, $4,000 elder care. If you have a young child, $4,000 of care for young children. Plus nutrition, plus home repairs if you live in a low-income community. It's huge, and that is the first of three classes of checks in the Build Back Better Act. The Build Back Better Act, currently in the Senate, also has three add-ons of checks. The third add-on of checks is a little bit less than $25,000 for the purchase of your first home. Wow, that is incredible. Given to the seller in your name at the time of escrow, this is a little bit less than $25,000. It's huge. Got in there via Maxine Waters from Southern California. Cluster number 2 has paid leave and home repairs. Paid leave is if you have to stay home due to sickness or illness. How many weeks per year? 4 to 6 weeks per year. How much money? $1,700 a week if you make $70,000 or more per year. $35,000 on an annual salary, $800 a week. And if you make $15,000 annual salary, $400 a week. Yes, that is about $4,000 to $6,000 a year. W-2, 1099, you all get it. And if you don't work, but your son or daughter does work, they'll get the check as part of the household. That is paid leave. Now, the other check in that second cluster is the big details of home repairs to weatherize your home. Wait up, hold up, pens up, right there. It's law. What? Yes, it's law. Joe Biden took it out and made it law. Congratulations. This provision of weatherizing your home was in the Build Back Better bill, still in the Senate. But Joe Biden sat back and said, I'm taking it out. I'm making it law. By executive action. Remember, the President of the United States can make things law without a vote of Congress. He can do it by executive action. This is law. And have you seen that check? You have. Because I had it in the opening remarks. It's check A. Congratulations. A fourth stimulus check is now law. And viewers of this channel have gotten it. That incredible check is $6,500 for individuals with that home weatherizing grant check. Made law 30/31/2022. The second check, B, $15,000 to $80,000, also law. The president made law on March 4th. How do you get those checks? Become a member. And they're coming up later in this video. Purple Hawks, Purple Power, or Calcino VIP. The link is under the video. Become a member right now. And we're going to go over how to get those checks A, B, and C later in this recording. Let's go back to the Build Back Better Act where we left off at that second cluster of checks. So the money in there for paid leave is staying in there, but the home repairs is out. Now let's go to that second add-ons of checks. A little bit less than $250 billion of free home health care for seniors and people on disabilities. Huge. Let's go to that third cluster of checks. In there is free internet for all checks, farmers checks, independent contractors checks, and then seniors getting lots of checks across the board. Dental checks, vision checks, lowering the eligibility of age of Medicare checks from 65 to 55, hearing checks, and then the Medicaid gap fix that will provide a workaround plan that uninsured people in 12 Republican holdout states are paid insurance. Great news across the board. When we're talking about adding checks as recon, the other checks the senators represent they would add in there, of course, are add-on number 3, MSC, baby. MSC, baby, monthly IRS stimulus checks. In the Build Back Better Act, 4 stimulus MSC checks. Who would get them? The legislators represent that if you got a third, you get a fourth. So let's recap. Single individual, $75,000 less, you get it. Married couple, $150,000 less, you get it double. Family of 4, you get it as well. Quadruple it. And if you're on benefits, SSI, SSDI, Social Security, or railroad benefits, you get as well. Adult dependents would also get it. It is not income. It is not taxable. It goes off of the most recent tax return. It's nationwide, not side by a state, and that tax return had a direct deposit. That's how you get paid otherwise in the mail. How much are these checks? This is where it gets interesting. The legislators represent that they want to give a check of $2,000 the first month, $1,000 thereafter, for up to 6 months. That would amount to $7,000. But hold up, wait a second. Didn't we talk about MSC checks in the opening remarks of this channel? We did, and that was check C. Check C is currently a law, and it's not MSCs from fourth stimulus recon. It is MSC checks from third stimulus recon. They're coming up late in this video, and guess what? Look how much more money it is. It's not $7,000. It's not 6 months of checks, $2,000 the first month, $1,000 thereafter. It is averaging $2,000 a month for 12 months. It's now law. Wow, this is exciting. Very exciting. Viewers have gotten these checks. Many viewers have gotten over $150,000 of these stimulus checks from this channel. How do you get it? They're coming up later in this video. Stay with me. We're going to go over check A, B, and C that are law, that have landed. They are for stimulus, and they're more. They're coming up later in this video. Now, let's turn to the situation unfolding about those interest rates, about that SS300, about your inflation, and what you need to know across the board on what is happening for lifting and raising those interest rates to battle inflation, which is also rising. The situation tonight is that Joe Biden promised that he was going to swap your COLA for inflation. As president, that would lock in a higher benchmark. Why? Because inflation is more money than COLA. And where is inflation? Well, that's part of the equation right now. First, let's understand what swapping these benefits out is. If you swap those benefits out right today, you would raise your benefits up $200 more per month, not just this month, not just this year, but lifetime, because inflation is higher than COLA. Then, if we kept it in place, then later this year, it would raise your benefits up another $100, not just that month, but lifetime. Why? Let's do the analysis right now. Inflation is at its highest price point of a generation. 8% potentially. That is $200 more per month. And if it tracks at 4% later this December, when they reassess your benefits for next year in December, that would be another $100. That's SS300. So what is part of the equation tonight? What is the breaking news tonight on this front? And what is the cause of concern on this issue tonight? The cause of concern is whether inflation is dropping, staying stagnant, or going higher. Let's analyze the situation. We have Joe Biden, who needs to make that phone call to the Social Security Administrator head saying, swap that COLA for inflation right today. And then we have another guy who's trying to reduce that inflation. Yeah. So where is inflation? Last year, I got it right. The Federal Reserve got it very wrong. Yours truly said all last year that inflation was going to track at 8% in December 2021 and not be temporary, or that fancy word, transitory. Jay Powell said it's going to be transitory, temporary, and just be 2 to 3% for 1 month and come back down. I said not at all. Who was right? I was right. It came in at 8%, that inflation rate in December 2021. Then in January, I said it was going to stay at 8%. It was. In February, I said it was going to stay at 8%. It was. So where did it track in March? This is where it gets very interesting. In the month of March, I had predicted that inflation was going to be about the same or a little bit higher. Why did I say that? Price of goods. You go to the supermarket, you see the price in March is a little bit more than February, and you also see the price of gasoline went up more in March than February. Pretty simple to do this analysis, I gotta say. So was I right? I was right. This week, the Consumer Price Index number was released, and when comparing the number month to month, comparing February to March, Wall Street anticipated the number to go up on average a half a percentage point. It did go up, but a third of a percentage point, 1/3. That was in cue with what I had been predicting. But if you looked at some of the specific industries, it was actually worse. Those numbers month after month actually went up a lot. For example, in the case of gasoline, how much did gasoline go up from the month of February to March? 11% in just 1 month. Wow, that is pseudo-inflation. Then, how much did the cost of food go up from the month of February to March? Did it say 8% go up higher? No, it went up higher. The price of food went up another 1% and 8.8% year to date. So the takeaway is that when looking at February versus March, the average items at issue did go up higher. So inflation is tracking higher. Why? Jay Powell was trying to reduce inflation in the month of March by doing that quarter basis point increase. It didn't work. So that is why Jay Powell is likely to do half basis point at the FOMC meeting, the Federal Reserve's meeting in the month of April, and another one in the month of May. Is that going to work? In my opinion, maybe not. Maybe not. If it doesn't work, that's good for your benefits, because that means if Joe makes that swap, we're still at about 8%, which is another $200 per month. If it does work, in my opinion, it's not going to reduce inflation too much. Maybe low 8%, high 7%, which is still about $190 more per month for your benefits. Why is it not working for Jay Powell? The reason why, in my analysis, that Jay Powell's raise of inflation of interest rates is not going to work for inflation is because tonight we have not one, not two, but three supply chain disruptions. What is supply chain disruption? It is very simple. You can't get the product from the manufacturer to you, whether it's a farmer from the farm to you or the shipper from the port to you. You can't get it there. Why not? We have now not one, not two, but now three supply chain disruptions. Let's look at what has happened. We had one supply chain disruption in January, which was existing from last year. That's coming out of COVID. We all understand that supply chain disruption. There's no truck drivers, there's no shippers. We got that one. That's one simple. Then we got a new supply chain disruption in February. Which supply chain disruption was that? That was Vladimir Putin. We're embargoing his products, so his products are no longer available in world economies. That's supply chain disruption number two. But supply chain disruption number three happened literally in the last 7 days. What is supply chain disruption? Folks, this is the most severe of the three supply chain disruptions. It is China. China has been covered on this channel for about 2 weeks. And I said, if China's situation gets worse, you're going to see the worst economic story of 2022 after Vladimir Putin's invasion of Ukraine. It's happening. What is it? It's a subvariant to Omicron currently in China, causing major lockdowns in the Chinese economy. Their products can't get out to us. Our products made from them, made there, can't get to us. This is supply chain disruption. And when there's supply chain disruption, products go up. Does Jay Powell have any tools to get down this inflation? He does not. And this is where Jay Powell is going to simply just raise interest rates and is not going to get down your price of goods. That is where things don't line up, but it's good for you. Why? Because Joe Biden has more wiggle room to swap that COLA for inflation tonight, because that inflationary rate, in my opinion, is not coming down because of the new subvariant in Omicron in China, causing supply chain disruption. As a supply chain disruption continues, then guess what? The Federal Reserve will not be able to curb it, and that inflation will continue to curb this economy, grow in this economy. What does that mean then for the Build Back Better Act? The Build Back Better Act will be impacted by that supply chain disruption of the trains and anything else that's having difficulty being delivered. The economic data, whether it's the GDP or the supply chain or the interest rates or what's going on, all these recessionary or inflationary concerns tonight are all major misses. Poor, weak economic data that has come in the last 7 days that signals Build Back Better Act has the economic support that it needs. What is it? Well, first, we already understand that supply chain disruption is happening. Number one. Number two, we understand that supply chain disruption is going to get worse. It's not going to get better because of the Omicron subvariant in China tonight, folks, is not just in China. Now, it has been detected in the United States. It hasn't caused any lockdowns here, of course. But now tonight, there's new reports that the subvariant is really spreading quickly in Asia and also Europe. Again, we do business with Europe. And if their supply chain disruption becomes very prolific, then that impacts our economy. Remember, supply chain means you can't get products, the products are more expensive, and that causes inflation, then the economy stall up. Now, what was the economic data in the last 7 days? All misses, with the exception of the unemployment numbers. First, the GDP, the gross national product. It shows how big an economy is growing. If the economy is growing, it's a positive number. It was supposed to be at 7.1%, came in 6.9%. Miss. It didn't hit the benchmark. It did not beat, it's a miss. Then, we had the non-farm payroll jobs created the month before. Miss by 60,000. Ouch, really bad. As to the GDP, by the way, they're now predicting it being dropped to 4% growth by the end of the year. I'm saying 0% growth because remember, recession is negative growth. It's a negative number in the GDP. Then what else did we have? We had the housing starts, which refers to how many homes are sold per month, down the fourth consecutive months. This is a no-brainer on this one, folks, because no one can afford to buy a home if the mortgage rate is 5%. You may be able to buy a car, lease a car, but you cannot afford a home if the mortgage rate is 5%. We're not done there yet. Data after data. The auto sales dramatically down, and the recessionary pressure is very clear across the board. Was there any good economic data in the last 7 days? There was, and that was the unemployment number. The unemployment number was a major beat. It was the lowest new unemployment claims since the 1960s, announced on Thursday, and the lowest number of continuing unemployment claims since that point as well. 1.8 million unemployed people compared to 18 million a year ago. So that's a really good number. But collectively, when we look at the situation tonight, it's good for Bernie and the Build Back Better Act because there's enough bad economic data. Virtually all the data that has come out in the last 7 days has been weak, missing the benchmarks, with the exception of the unemployment. That is reason to pass Build Back Better, with the understanding that the economy is stalling up. The economy is shrinking. The economy is not growing. The economy is facing recessionary pressures. Great news across the board. And that is why analysts now believe that the Build Back Better Act will go to a vote later this month. Wow. Now, that is SS 300. That is Build Back Better Act. There's big breaking news announced on April 14th, last night on Evenings LALATE about student loan debt forgiven. Yes, if you are an owner of a student loan debt, you're a former student, you have a federal student loan debt, get ready for the second half of this video because your debt may be forgiven. On the latest details on that in the second half of this video. Then we'll go over whether this economy is already in recession or heading in recession and how long will that recessionary be. Then, get ready for 6 stimulus. It's the biggest stimulus package of a generation. It's happening as early as this month. It overlaps with 4th and 5th and 7th. It is the trifecta: Germany, France, the United States. And it's needed. But is Germany getting off point on it? I'll go over whether Germany could stall it up or whether the United States can do it without us. We'll go over what's happening in China with that new lockdown of that Omicron subvariant and why this could send us into runaway inflation and also recession at the same time. Never heard it before? I'll have the latest details tonight across the board. But first, in an economy in which we have so many things impacted by the world events of Ukraine and Russia, it's a time and place to get big checks. And that's why in the second half of this video, we're going to go over 3 checks, which are now law. A $6,500 home weatherizing grant check made law March 31st. I'm going to show you how to get it after the commercial break. Then we have the incredible $15,000 to $80,000 March 4th check, which became law that day and is still paying out. How do you get it? It's coming up after the commercial break. And then MSC checks, $2,000 a month over 12 months, $24,000, blowing away what forced stimulus was to do. There's a lot more than $7,000. This is a lot more than 6 months of checks. How do you get these checks? Before the commercial break or during the commercial break, become a member. Go to the top of the chat. Go to the description of the video. Click the link that says join and become a Purple Hawk, Purple Power, or Calcino VIP member of this channel. Then get that newsletter Monday through Friday. Delivered 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time via the YouTube alert system. It features all the incredible information, the links, everything you need to know, the details of where to apply to get these big checks. A, B, and C, they're happening. They are right now. Also in the second half of this video, we'll go over whether this economy is in recession right now or could be getting worse from the shores of Santa Monica, California to the shores of Black Sea, where it's just getting started as we go into a big weekend. It's Easter. And big money can still be gotten. See you back in 60 seconds as a big afternoon's LA broadcast, no evening's LA broadcast, continues in prime time. It's America's most watched show in prime time. I'll see you back in 60 seconds as a beautiful Easter weekend is upon us and also some beautiful stimulus. See you back in 60 seconds. If you want money right now, not 5 days from now, and not 5 weeks from now, then reach out to the community page. The volunteers can help you find that money for rent and utilities. That's at news.lalate.com/community. The community page features a series of volunteers who are viewers like you. They can help you find rent, utilities, SNAP, food benefits, mortgage assistance, and help you with eviction moratorium questions as well. Their Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram individuals reach out to them and indicate the city and state you're from, and they'll get back to you shortly. That's a community page. Volunteers working for you, viewers helping one another. Stay with LA for more.
Join LALATE daily for the excitement of the new LALATE live daily. The excitement starts on mornings LALATE at 9 a.m. Home LALATE returns at 11 a.m. daily. And then afternoons LALATE at 1 p.m. Join us daily as the excitement continues live from Santa Monica on LALATE.
And the excitement continues on a big, bold, beautiful evenings LA starting right now for April 15th, 2022. As you drive to the weekend, how bad is the gasoline prices? And will they be getting worse? I'll have the latest details tonight from the shores of Santa Monica, California. We'll be looking at 6 stimulus and why that was to solve the situation for oil and why it's needed right away. Is the oil deals that the president announced just 2 weeks ago working or not working? I'll have that analysis tonight as well. And what do we know about that GDP? Is it dropping or is it not dropping? We'll be going into that student loan debt forgiveness. Get ready. This is great news. You heard it last night on Evenings LA. Big student loan debt has been forgiven. Then we'll be looking at that mortgage rate. Is the mortgage rate so bad that this could send the whole U.S. economy into recession? I believe so. I'll have the latest details on that mortgage situation in the second half of this video. We'll be looking back to that interest rates. We'll be looking at what that means about your money. And then we'll have a new look forward and a look back as this channel approaches its 2-year anniversary, April 25th, 2022. We'll look at what we've learned over the last year as a community and what that means going forward. I'll use a big example of where people were given opportunities to get money on this channel. They passed it up and they put themselves in a bind. That is why it's important to get those checks when they're available. And first, let's go to those checks right now. 3 checks are now incredible law. They are a 4th stimulus check of $6,500, currently law tonight, became law March 31st. A $15,000 to $80,000 4th stimulus check, now law. Joe Biden sent it out. People have got it. It's law. Became law March 4th. And a $24,000 MSG since 2021. The reason why this graphic is so important is especially the dates. The checks are not going to be live indefinitely. The funds will run out, and that is why when the first one became law on the 31st, it was featured on the newsletter to this channel. When the second one became law on March 4th, it was put into the newsletter that night. That is why you cannot let your membership lapse, and you can't wait to become a member because guess what? When the checks are available, you want to get them right away. All right, let's go over each of those checks, starting with check A right now. Check A is a $6,500 check to $12,000 check in some states. It's a 4th stimulus check. It was in the Build Back Better Act at that second cluster, but taken out and made law, executive law by Joe Biden. It is a 4th stimulus check called the Homeowners Weatherizing Grant Check. What's the income qualification? It's easy breezy. $75,000 less, a single individual, you get it. Married couple, $150,000 less, you get it. And if you're on benefits like Social Security or veterans benefits, you get it. What's the last qualification? You own your own home. Do not worry about the terms home or weatherizing. Many states define weatherizing differently. Also, they define home differently. Don't wait. Get that check tonight. So how do you get the check? You become a member. Open that newsletter Monday through Friday, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Go down in the first few lines of the newsletter. It'll feature check A. $6,500 homeowners weatherizing grant check. It'll give you a bigger description about that check. Then it'll give you the link. You click the link with your cell phone or your computer and go right in, and then it'll send you to the national website. You choose your state like Alabama, then choose the homeowners weatherizing grant check in Alabama, and then apply. And away you go. You are done. So simple, so easy. A $6,500  4th stimulus check, now law. That is check A. Let's look at check B. Resembles check A a lot, but it's a lot more money. How do you get this check? Let's go over the details. It is a $15,000 to $80,000 check. The viewership of this channel is tracking about $66,000 to $80,000. Yes, again, it is a 4th stimulus check that was in Build Back Better Act. The president took it out. Did it by executive action. Income qualification, same as Check A, same as third stimulus check. Single individual, 75,000 or less, get it. Married couple, 150,000 or less, you get it. If you're on Social Security or veterans benefits, you get it as well. I have one viewer who is on SSI, and he got $66,000 from this. So how do you get this check? The homeowner's grant check. Again, you become a member. You open the newsletter, delivered Monday through Friday, and then you go to Check B. You'll recognize it by the payout, $15,000 to $80,000. It'll describe in more details what this Check B pays for, like property taxes, wow, home repairs, oh boy. And then you click the link. It'll send you to a national website with a map of the United States. You click the map, and then you look at your respective state. Let's say it's Arkansas. You click the state of Arkansas, and it'll send you right into Arkansas's website application. Yes, you can do this with a cell phone. Yes, you can do it with a computer. And you apply. After you get the application in, if it's done correctly, you'll be told complete. And the payout, once complete, is 7 days approximately currently. Huge, very easy across the board to get those big checks. That is Check B. And you deserve it. Get it right now. Now, what's important to understand is that when we look at Check A, B, and C, what do we know? Check A, homeowners. Check B, homeowners. Check C, also available to homeowners. So if you're a homeowner, you can get Check A, B, and C. If you're a renter, get ready, baby, because you get Check C and MSC check. This check was put into, or checks put into, the American Rescue Plan, the third stimulus, passed in early 2021. And viewers of this channel have tracked at about $45,000 on average, but in recent days, they're getting $2,000 a month over 12 months. OMG. That's $24,000. That is a lot more than Build Back Better's Act's four stimulus checks, which are only $7,000. $2,000 the first month, $1,000 thereafter for 6 months. $7,000 versus $24,000, big difference. If there's anyone who knows how to get these checks, it's the viewership of this channel, because the viewership of this channel has gotten tens of millions of dollars of these MSC checks. If you're new to this channel, you found the channel where the viewers are getting tens of millions of dollars from these MSC checks since early 2021. Here you go. Rent. Look at these astronomical stimulus checks for rent that viewers have gotten. We're not done there yet. Look at these astronomical numbers for stimulus checks that they've got for utilities. I've had viewers get $15,000 to $20,000 at utilities as well. When they get combo items, how many stimulus checks are they getting? $32,000? No, we're not done there yet. Here's Mark. He had $32,000. He went to $50,000. Then he went to $100,000. And then he got Check C for $66,000 just days ago. Yes, Mark is almost at $200,000. He's not alone. A lot of other viewers have got to nearly $200,000 from these MSC checks from third stimulus. Here's Lorraine. She was at 105. Now she's at 120. What's important to understand is that these checks are available right today, so why would you wait to get those checks? Where do you get it? You want to get your pen and paper ready. You're going to reach out to a series of places to get those big checks right now. And in difference to A and B, that involves going to a website, going and filling out an online application, C is easy for people who do not like the internet. C is easy for people who just like to use a basic telephone, because C only requires a telephone and a pen. How much easier can Check C be than a telephone and a pen? And who do you call? You don't call ET. You don't call for takeout. Who do you call? Let's go over who you call for Check C starting right now. You're going to reach out to 6 places. Your city hall, your city housing authority. Your county hall and your county housing authority. Your state hall and your state housing authority. Now, pause the graphic right there. If you're a member, congratulations, because the membership newsletter has other places you reach out to. The nonprofits, 15 plus places to reach out to. Wow. So what are the keywords when you reach out to them? Here are the keywords. Rent assistance because of COVID. Utility assistance because of COVID. Mortgage assistance because of COVID. Do not say other words. Do not say stimulus check. Do not say MSC. Do not say multiple stimulus check. Do not say waivable check. Do not say Easter check. Do not say lobster check. Do not say, danceable check. Just don't say it. You can say it under your breath, but just not to them on the phone. Now, become a member and reach out to all those different places, put multiple applications on file, and guess what? Do as many months as you can, because that's what MSC is about. Now, let's pause that graphic. Become a member today, because guess what? The membership newsletter features the nonprofits. I heard one viewer on the afternoon show today at 1 o'clock who said, having problems finding Ohio money. Member. Then another member said, hey, you got the membership newsletter. Open the membership newsletter. Here's a nonprofit in Ohio that pays big money for members. And that viewer understood the value of the membership newsletter. The nonprofits are in the newsletter only. They're not featured in the video. And those nonprofits pick up other sums of money. Make that phone call today. This is so simple. You got a phone, you got a pen, you got a paper. You can do this at any age, at any day, at any time. It is so straightforward. Make the call. If you're a member, if you're not a member, you're making 6 phone calls. If you are a member, you're making 15 to 20 phone calls. Remember, every additional phone call you make, there's more checks for you. And that is why it's a great night as we go into a big weekend for your big money. I'm so excited for you. These big sums of money are available and you need to pounce. So let's recap where we were on those 3 checks. Check A, a forced stimulus check now law. Check B, a forced stimulus check now law. And check C, an MSC check right now as law. You don't want to pounce to get those checks and stay at the very end, because I have more insight about how to get those checks. Now, remember, to get those checks, you want to go into the video and become a member. Click the link and become a Purple Hawk, Purple Power, or Calcino VIP. The membership newsletter is delivered Monday through Friday, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, via the YouTube alert system. Now, remember, I thought this is sort of obvious, but I guess I have to say it as well. Also, subscribe. Some people are apparently just becoming members in the last 7 days and weren't also subscribing. That's a mistake, because you may not get the alert. So become a member, 1, subscribe, number 2, and then go to the front of the channel and you'll see a little bell. Hit that bell and make sure it's set to all, A-L-L, so that all notifications come to you. Don't set it to preferred, set it to all, A-L-L. Hit that little bell at the front of this channel and you're ready to get those alerts. At 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, you will get an alert from YouTube, sent by the platform YouTube to you. And that alert will have a statement that says in the title, a new YouTube post by LALATE. Then right in the body of the message, the alert, it'll say, hi, newsletter from LALATE for today's date. And then there'll actually be a picture of a guy on a surf and the word newsletter over his face. He can't see the surf because the word newsletter is all over his eyes. You know, he won't be able to wave at the check either. It's troubling. But that's why you're not going to miss it. So make sure you get that membership sign up right tonight. Now, I'm so excited for you because guess what? We got big news. Student loan debt forgiven, baby. Where did that come from? Student loan debt, federal student loan debt has now been forgiven for millions of Americans. And it's the latest unraveling of a great series of events that started no less than 3 months ago. One after another of items of student loan debt have slowly been forgiven. And tonight, more debt is being forgiven, and it could be even more next week. What is that issue? Let's go over the nuances of what's happened so quickly, so fast. When Joe Biden ran for president, he said he's going to forgive student loan debt. Then he didn't do it. Then Liz Warren and Chuck Schumer pushed for him to forgive student loan debts. Initially, the president did the following. He forgave federal student loan debts for individuals who became disabled after graduation, or people who went to work in the nonprofit or public sector after graduation. Completely forgave them. Good. Then there was a little while, about 2 months, where we saw no activity. Liz Warren pushed back again, saying a lot of people were defrauded by their university. They should not have to pay debt that was caused by fraud. So then in the last 1 week, Joe Biden has made 3 major announcements on student loan debt. Number 1, on Tuesday, the president announced that student loan debt repayment, which has been on moratorium since the start of COVID, will remain on moratorium, meaning you do not have to pay it back until September. Great news. It was supposed to come due in May. Not. They're rolling it over to September. Again, you don't have to pay any debts back until September. Number 2, the president then on Wednesday announced that if your debts are in default, meaning they're trying to collect the debts against you, the president has now made those debts back in good standing. So you're no longer in default. And then the major breaking news that was announced last night, and this is a shocker, is that exactly what Liz Warren had asked for, had made countless YouTube videos about, is now law. The Department of Education announced on April 14th, 2022, in the evening, and featured on Evenings LA last night, that individuals who were defrauded by their university in the student loan process are now having their federal student loan debts forgiven. Forgiven, baby. So if you were defrauded by your university for federal loan, student loan debt, it will now be forgiven by the federal government. Wow. Which leaves you guessing, what is left to be forgiven? We're really checking things off the list. I'll watch this next week because guess what? In the last 5 days, we've had 3 major announcements on student loan debt. It looks like it's rolling very quickly. Remember, September's right around the corner, and Ron Clay and the President's Chief of Staff says the President wants to get this all done. Very, very fascinating across the board. Tonight, you're going on that road trip for Easter because guess what? The Easter Bunny's cooking dinner in Crayollaville. It's just delicious. Just a lot of too much blue. Even the sky's blue, the car's blue, the street is blue, everything is blue. And maybe you're going to Easter to see her, or Easter to see him. But guess what? The price of gasoline for that car is out of control. Whatever happened to the price of gasoline that was supposed to be going down? Was the price of gasoline supposed to go down? That was what Joe Biden said 2 weeks ago. When he released part of the strategic reserves, I said it was supposed to go down to the lowest levels of a generation because that Iranian oil deal. Wasn't there an oil deal done because of Vladimir Putin? It's all 6 stimulus, and it all starts right now. 6 stimulus is the biggest stimulus package of a generation that heats up in April. It is the trifecta of Germany, France, and the United States. If you're new to this channel, let me explain to you where it came from. It came from Anthony Blinken, your Secretary of State, who reached out to Germany and France day one of the Russian invasion of Ukraine and said, you need to get off of those Russian products. The reaction initially was poor. Germany said no. France said, oh no. The White House pushed back and said you have to get off those Russian products for moral reasons. Then Germany said yes. France said yes. So we had the German Chancellor and the French President Macron all on point, and we had an April date at issue. The first thing we were looking at was whether Macron's reelected in the month of April as President of France. He wasn't. Last Friday, Macron did not win, so he's going into a runoff. He hasn't lost, but he hasn't won either. He's going into a runoff for late April with that right-wing candidate in France. Then it got worse. As Germany's chancellor said, no, we're not getting off of Russian products. Excuse me, said the White House? No, the White House has actually not briefed us on its reaction situation. Tonight, we've had banks, not just U.S. banks, German banks react to the situation saying, oh boy, Germany's making a mistake here because Germany has to give stimulus, or whatever their terminology is in their country, to their citizens or their economy. The German economy is going into recession. Yes. So where are we tonight on the oil, the wheat, the trifecta of allegiances of the 3 countries, and what is happening thereafter? A lot of details to go over, and we're going to go over it starting right now. First, we're going to start with the gasoline. The gasoline was supposed to have an Iranian oil deal. Announced on this channel no less than a month ago, the White House had an Iranian oil deal, the JCPOA, in which barrels and barrels of gasoline will be released from Iran as we remove our embargo as they end their nuclear proliferation, the JCPOA agreement. Agreement? No. It fell apart for reasons we still don't know tonight. It may still get passed, but that was supposed to be 1.5 million barrels of gasoline. Did not happen. So what did the White House do? Did not refer to even the JCPOA, but 2 Fridays ago, the President of the United States said, we're releasing 1 million barrels of gasoline from our U.S. strategic reserves per day for 6 months to bring down the price of gasoline at the pump for you instantly. Excuse me? I immediately said, it's not going to work. It's not going to work. Who told the president this is going to work? Well, let me tell you what happened. 1 million barrels of gasoline has been released by the United States that we own. They're in storage per day, every day since that recording 2 weeks ago. And guess what has happened as of time of last night's recording, certainly probably at the time of tonight's recording as well. The price of international Brent crude is higher than when the president made the announcement. Yeah, that didn't really work really well. Now, why did I get this right again? This is easy, folks. You know the answer to this one. The way that products work, whether it's wheat, oil, or a Crayola crown, if there's a shortage of them, the price goes up. Even if someone's hoarding them in Crayolaville, the price goes up. Now, The way you get the price to go down is you have more of it released. So what's at issue? How many barrels are missing is the first thing you would ask. How many barrels are missing because of Vladimir Putin? 3 million barrels a day. Okay, we got that number. How many strategic reserves of oil are we releasing per day from the United States government? 1 million barrels. That doesn't cut it. Who thought 1 million barrels to replace 3 million barrels works? Of course it doesn't work. This was an easy, breezy analysis. That's why I said it wasn't going to work. And then in days that followed thereafter, last weekend, there was an announcement by the Western allies that their 66 member nations was going to release some of their strategic reserves. A lot? No. 500,000 barrels a day. So that brings us to 1.5 million barrels a day versus the 3 million missing. Does that work? Absolutely not. Doesn't work. That is why the international price of Brent crude on Thursday night was about 108. It may even be higher this weekend. Domestically, how much you're paying for the price of gasoline at the pump? You're paying about $4.11 unleaded nationwide average tonight, based upon the AAA number. It was $4.24 the night before. Not much change, but let's make it clear. Anything over $4 is not sustainable. Not sustainable in the month of May. We go into recession. And nothing over 108, that's just a horrible number, for international Brent crude for gasoline is sustainable in the month of May. We go into recession. So does the White House have something else available to do with this? Well, yeah, the JCPOA. That is why the White House needs to do the JCPOA and needs to understand that the strategic release of 1 million barrels doesn't cut it. 1.5 million replacing 3 million missing, that ain't going to cut it. What's also not going to cut it? What's also not going to cut it is you going to get a slice of bread, and it's simply unaffordable. The price of bread, if you remember this channel and you open the newsletter nightly, you'll see the first line. It's wheat. The next line is corn. The line after that is oil. And the line after that is stimulus check number A. What's going on with those prices of these commodities tonight, folks? They are out of control. Now, let's make very clear. Day one of the Russian invasion of Ukraine, I told you that the prices had surged to the highest levels in 10 years. That was then. That was 2 months ago. They've gone even higher than then. Did I get that projection right? I did, because I said that Wall Street now says that the prices could go up 40% higher than where they are. Why? Again, supply chain disruption. It means you can't get the products from where they are to you, whether it's the truck, whether it's the trains, whether it's carried through the sands of the beach, or whether it's putting it on a Ferris wheel. You can't get the products to the people. And if you can't get the products to the people, then they go up. Tonight, the products of wheat, corn are literally going out of control. And countries overseas that are very dependent upon those items, like Egypt, 80% of their wheat comes from Ukraine. They got no solution available. What is the White House doing on this front tonight? This is where I want to become a little bit angry. Janet Yellen has done nothing. Nothing. Let's understand, most people own a car, but not everyone. But almost every single American eats at least one carb per day. You may eat more carbs, but just keep it to yourself. And if you are on a carb-free diet, I shame you. We all wish we could do that as well. Let's make this very clear. Carb-free, low carb, some carb. It's too expensive, the carbs. And that's because Janet Yellen has done nothing for this. This is the wheat industry, and the wheat industry is out of control, and these prices are surging out of control. And while we try to release some strategic reserves, we don't have corn strategically reserved. That is why wheat corn needs to be solved by the White House right away, or guess what? Maybe we'll all be on a carb-free diet because we won't be able to afford a $7 loaf of bread. That's as simple as that. Now, why is this all becoming so important? Because 6 stimulus is to battle recession. But are we in recession tonight? And what are analysts saying? And what am I saying? Let's go over the details right now. How do you determine if you're in recession? Well, if you're in a nationwide recession, you look at the GDP number, the gross national product. That GDP number tells you whether your U.S. or whether your entire economy is in recession. How do you determine it? A negative number is negative growth. That means you're receding. Gross national product, if the number is negative, like negative 1% growth, you are in recession. There's a lot of analysts who think that if you're at 0 or half a percentage point, you're basically in a version of a recession. I'm not going to do that in this recording, but I want to tell you is that the GDP was supposed to be 7.1% last month, then it came at 6.9%. Now they're saying it's going to 4% in just a few months. I think, folks, it's going to 0 or it's going to less than 1% by the end of the year. What are the other analysts saying as well? They're saying that whether it starts this year, it will be there next year. Whether it's me or banks, the first bank was, of course, Deutsche Bank, that said what I've been saying for 5 months. I've been saying that the U.S. economy will be in recession starting in 2023 for 2 years. Deutsche Bank in the last 7 days has said the same thing. We're going to recession for 2 years in 2023 and 2024. When it starts, it just depends on who you're looking at the analysis. Now, my analysis is that industries go into recession before the whole U.S. economy goes into recession. I believe that the housing industry tonight is in recession. The auto industry is in recession, and that the other industries will follow into recession later this year, early next year. Why is the housing industry in recession? Very, very simple. You have a series of economics numbers that are very, very poor. First, new home starts are down 4 consecutive months. That was when we're in the highest part of the market for sales, which is right now. You sell in the spring. That's the highest of the season. Why are they down? The 30-year mortgage is 5%. The mortgage rate is unaffordable. People cannot afford a 5% mortgage, and it will get actually worse. Then, how about the people who are trying to repair the home, flip it? How about the people who are trying to build the home, sell it? Can't do it. The supply chain disruption is there. And it was just a week ago where I was talking about supply chain disruption for those commodities coming out of COVID. The truck driver can't drive it because there's too much of a demand. Then we talked about supply chain disruption when Vladimir Putin invaded Ukraine. That's like steel. Ukraine's one of the biggest exporters of steel in the globe. Price of steel went up. You're building a home that needs some steel in the middle of the foundation, went up. Now we have the third supply chain disruption. And which one is this one? China. Whether it's the light switch or the electrical or the plumbing that may be manufactured in China by U.S. manufacturers and shipped back in the United States, this is all supply chain disruption, and this is sending the housing industry into recession, I believe, already in this U.S. economy. In the case of auto, I believe auto is already in recession. Auto sales are real down because of demand, but they're going to have big problems making the cars, whether it is a conductor chip or whether it is a component part like the seatbelts that cannot be made because the seatbelts are made out in Ukraine, and the seatbelt manufacturer is not manufacturing them right now. The U.S. auto manufacturers who build their cars overseas, they don't build them here and ship them to overseas. They build them overseas. They don't have seatbelts. If you don't have a seatbelt in the car, what do? You crash into the wave. Is she crashing? 3, 2, 1. No, she stood up. Oh, good. Good for you, girl. Oh, I spoke too soon. Should have had a component seatbelt for that car. Surfboard car. There you go. That is why I believe the U.S. economy will go into full recession in the end of the year. What does this mean for you and your wallet? What it means for you and your wallet is that we've learned so much on this channel over the last 2 years. This channel approaches its 2-year anniversary on April 25th. We're going to have a lot of fun. I hope you remember. We're going to have a lot of fun in the next few days. But one of the things we learned early on is that when money is available, you get the money. You don't think about it. Let me use the following situation of what today is doing and what happened on day one. Day one, I was talking about the EIDL loan, and no one had told viewers anywhere in the United States until I came on the face of the planet of how the EIDL loan really worked. And one of the things that first viewers were told by me was that if the loan is over $25,000, it's collateralized. That scared the pants off of some people. Collateralization means if you can't make the payment, they take the item. So viewers said, you know what, I won't get collateralized. What happened? Viewers had been offered loans of $200,000 because of the work of this channel, and then they said, no, I'll take $24,000. I won't take anything that makes it collateralized. I said, think this through, because guess what? You can always give back the money, no early repayment penalty. You have too much, you don't need it, you can give it back. They didn't listen, and so a lot of people took less than the collateralization level, like $24,000, and then a month later they said, it's April 2020. It's May 2020. I thought Omicron was going to be done in 2 weeks. Who told you that? You're just rolling the dice on that one analysis. You should have taken the money. They said, I need more money. They really did. They need a lot more money. And they went back, and guess what happened? SBA said it's very impossible, next to impossible, to raise up that loan once it's been reduced. To go from 24,000 back up to 200,000, nearly impossible. So that was an example of what you should not do. The money was available and you could have returned it if you didn't need it. Let's look at those 3 stimulus checks tonight. You're a renter. You're a homeowner. You're one of the two. That is what forced stimulus is about. Forced stimulus, unfortunately, does not have much money at all for homeless people. But you're either a renter or a homeowner, and that is what A, B, and C checks are about tonight. Get them. What are you doing? You don't want $6,500? You don't want $15,000 to $80,000? You don't want $24,000? It is myopic. It is a mistake. It is what we learned on day one of this channel 2 years ago to say, you know what? I see A and B and C. I qualify for them, but I'm going to wait for when forced stimulus becomes law because I like something else in forced stimulus better than these. Better? Well, if you qualify for all of them, get all of them. Don't wait for something better in the future, which may not happen like you think it will happen. Grab these big checks today. Do not wait. Why do I spend so much time on the membership newsletter? To make sure that when a check becomes law, you pounce. The concept, the expression, Purple Hawks, was created by me in early February 2021. It was created because of me, because of third stimulus. I said, when third stimulus becomes law, there's going to be a lot of money. And you got to pounce as a hawk, as a purple hawk. That's how I said it, as a hawk, as a purple hawk. Because when that money becomes law, you want to pounce, it's going to run out. Money runs out. Notice the graphic where it says it became law on March 4th? Let's use New York, for example. I featured in the newsletter. It became law on the 4th. I featured in the newsletter on the 4th. And within about a week, New York ran out of money. And that's why you can't wait. That's also why when you become a member, you can't let the membership lapse. You got to read that newsletter nightly because there may be a new check. You got to watch every video every day because there may be a new check. You got to stay to the very end of every video every day because there may be a new check. And when that new check is available, you got to get it. You can't wait across the board. Throughout the night, we have a lot of programming, and I'll be with you all Easter weekend. We have tonight, Evenings LALATE every night at 5 o'clock Pacific Standard Time for the shores of Santa Monica, California. We have Evenings Countdown at 6 o'clock. Then we have Street and Stimulus at 7 o'clock. We have Evenings Extra at 8 o'clock. And then we have Sunset at 9 o'clock. Then we're back tomorrow morning with Early Mornings LALATE. Of course, we got our overnight shows as well. From the shores of Santa Monica, California, to the shores of your home, to the shores of Black Sea. I hope you have a safe, beautiful Easter weekend or whatever religion you celebrate. Stay safe on the road, stay informed, stay with me. I'll be with you all weekend long. And stay with LALATE for more, and every night on Evenings.